Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all for our 2023 Eyre Tours kickoff, our travel kickoff for the year. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really good to see everybody. And I love the fact that so many of you have your cameras on. That is awesome. I love to see your faces. I invite anyone who doesn't have their camera on to please turn it on because it is really good to see you. We've got a lot to talk about today because there's tons of exciting topics and tours to discuss. But first, I want to introduce all the important people. Well, you're all important. I have some specifically important people, especially because Employee Appreciation Day is tomorrow. So, I got to butter them up a little bit. So I'm Sandy Borowski. Let me introduce myself first. I'm the president of Eyre Tours, and it's good to be with you tonight. I also have with me Jill Wood, who is our travel advisor. There she is, she's waving. And I have Kat Carter in tour services. There she is. Yep. And I have three tour directors with me tonight. I have Ellen Kilby.
Hello.
There's Ellen. I have Kathy Schwartz.
Hi, everybody.
And I have our newest tour director who none of you, I don't think, have met yet because she's brand spanking new. And her name is Terry Rill. And there she is. Hello. So we've got the whole team together tonight to talk about all these wonderful trips. And I'm thrilled that you are all here to listen to us talk about these trips and to interact and ask us questions as we tell you what's going on for 2023, of which we are 2 full months behind now. Like, it's already our 3rd month. We got 2 months in the rearview mirror, and we've got lots coming up. So I'm going to share my screen, and what we'll do is, you know what I want to do? I don't want to share my screen yet. Let's see if I can do, I want to do a little poll. So let's start with a little poll. Here we go. I'd like to know, let's just see where we are. Let's take a temperature. How many trips have you booked for 2023? Go ahead and answer honestly. I've booked only 1 trip for 2023. I've booked 2 or more trips. Thank you. I haven't booked yet, but I'm planning to, and I'm unsure. Maybe that's why you're here. You're going to learn what's going on. So let's see how you guys, how this poll turns out. And we'll see where we are, and that'll help me gauge, who I'm talking to, what we're doing here. I'll give you about a few more seconds to click your answer. Almost all of you have answered, which is great. Thank you for that. And this is really interesting. It's a tie in some ways. All right, I'll share the results. So 20% of you have booked 1 trip. Thank you very much. 20% of you have booked 2 or more trips. Thank you. Thank you. Almost half of you have not booked yet, but you're planning to. Again, I'm thinking that's why you're here. And then about 15% are unsure when you're going to book a trip again. So great. That helps me understand, what we're here for and what you guys are looking to get out of this. I'm going to have my co-host, Miss Kat, go ahead and mute everybody, but it doesn't mean I don't want to hear from you. It just, this way we get rid of some background noise and anything like that. But yeah, can you hear me now? I think Kat muted me too, so maybe that's a sign. What I'll do is I'll open it up for questions, and then at that point you can unmute yourself and ask a question. You can raise your hand if you know how to do that. Ellen does know how to raise her hand. I mean, you can raise your hand like this or on Zoom. It's up to you if you know how to do that. And
if I could just, Sandy, if I could just add a relatively new feature for me, is that while you're on mute, if you want to say something, you don't have to actually unmute. You can just press the space bar on your computer, and it will unmute you for the time the space bar is pressed. And then when you let up on it again, it returns you to mute.
Oh, it's kind of like a microphone. Good to know. Good to know.
Okay, that works.
See, it's 2023 and we're learning something new every day about Zoom. Amazing. You can also type your question in the chat. And that's another way to reach out. So we'll start, before we start talking about 2023, let's think about, I want to tell you about 2022. It was a great year. I hope you all enjoyed any of your travels. If you traveled with us, we put out, we had 19 multi-day vacations go out. So that was thrilling, 19 wonderful trips. We had 49 day trip destinations. So 49 day trips, which is great. We had 1 cruise and we had 3 fly vacations. So Jill was pretty busy getting all of you guys on those trips, and Kat was pretty busy getting that all together. And then the tour directors were pretty busy while they were out on tour. So it was a busy year for everybody. In 2023, you'll see we have lots and lots of trips. We even have more than 2022. So I think you'll be happy with our selection. I don't know, hopefully all of you got this catalog in the mail. Or if you didn't get it in the mail, you can request one on the website, or you can walk into the office at Leisure World and say hello to Jill and pick one up, because she's got lots of extras there. But we're going to be really going through this catalog and talking about the tours that we have in store for you. And at the end, we'll give you some information on how to book and things like tour protection and our Refer a Friend program. And all the way at the very end, we will pick 2 winners for a $25 Eyre Tours gift card. So we think you're going to like that. So let's get started. There we go, back to sharing my screen. All right. So I love to start with Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket Island, because this is a wonderful trip. It does have a few spaces on it, not many, but we would love to still have you. It leaves in May 17th. And what I'll do is, as I go through these tours, I'm just going to point out some highlights, because if I talked about each tour in depth, we'd be here till probably 11 or 12 at night. And I'm not going to keep you guys that long, as much as I would love to. But you can see that if you follow my cursor, the price is per person. That's PP for double occupancy. That's 2 people in a room. Here's your price for 1 person in a room. And here's your price for 3 people in a room. And again, those are per person prices. This tour is 5 days and includes 5 meals. Okay. So the highlight of this trip is it's really Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, obviously 2 islands that we'll ferry to, but also this riding tour of the Provincetown Dunes is something that, trust me, you would not know to do this if you were going on this trip by yourself. And it's a fantastic experience for anybody. So then I'm just going to show you some of the wonderful pictures of our trip. Some of these pictures our tour guests have taken. Some of our tour directors have taken some, and some we've gotten from our suppliers. But down here, this is the vehicle that you travel on the Dunes tour, and you're traveling all through these national historic sand dunes, which is really wonderful. So that's our Cape Cod trip. I really think you'll like it. We have a trip to Myrtle Beach. We had it last year. I call this new because we've got lots of new inclusions. We've got a new museum called Wheels of Yesteryear. We're visiting a new shopping area called Market Common. We're seeing 2 new shows. We're seeing a Motown show, and we're seeing a brand new show at the Alabama Theater. The special thing about this trip is the hotel. We are on North Myrtle Beach, and it's a beautiful, quiet area of North Myrtle Beach, although it has lots of things in walking distance. But our accommodations are all in privately owned condos with a kitchenette, separate, living room area, and a separate sleeping area. And all of the rooms are oceanfront, and they have a balcony. So this is really a great trip, this Myrtle Beach trip. All right. we're jumping over to Connecticut Yankee Charm. This is a brand new trip. And this trip is chock full of things to do. You see the highlights are in red. So for a 4-day trip to have this many red highlights is a lot. You'll do a combination of museums, some history, you'll do a train ride, a riverboat ride, you'll see a castle, and you'll see a performance. So, and a canal boat ride. So actually 2 boat rides. So there's lots and lots to do in this 4-day trip to Connecticut, not a long bus ride, not a terribly long bus ride. So you really get the feel of New England on this trip. There's a picture of the Gillette Castle. And that brings us to Atlantic City. Atlantic City is a great 2-day getaway. This is super easy. Why did we pick June 22nd and June 23rd? Here's why, because there's this awesome group performing called the Jersey Tenors. And they are basically like a Jersey Boys tribute, but they also do some of pop's greatest hits. So they do even a little, like they throw a little opera in there. They just do absolutely everything. They have a 6-piece band. They're funny. It's a super show. So if you like a little show, an overnight getaway, we stay right on the boardwalk at Resorts Casino. So we'll see the show at the Tropicana. We'll go right over to Resorts Casino. You'll get a casino package at both places, so you could try your luck if you'd like. It's really inexpensive, $3.99 per person based on 2 people in a room. And this is just a great getaway in June. There's the Tropicana. That's the showroom. It's an absolutely beautiful showroom. It's huge. It's just absolutely beautiful. All right, Niagara Falls in Toronto. I love this tour. This is new. And I'll tell you why it's new. We're going to do the Whitewater Walk, which is a new attraction in Niagara. We're going to do, of course, we'll do the boat cruise right up to the falls. But we have a full day in Toronto on this trip. So, and we'll visit the CN Tower. So it's 5 days, a travel day on each end, 2 full days in Niagara Falls and a full day in Toronto. While we're in Niagara, we'll visit Niagara on the Lake. We'll do a wine tasting. For those of you that haven't been to Niagara on the Lake, it's an absolutely charming village with local shops and eateries right along the Niagara River. There's lots to do there and see. And the end of June is perfect timing for this trip, I think. So yes, you need your passport for this one. Beautiful photo of the falls. Just some really cool things that we do. That's your Toronto. And that brings us back to New York. The order that we're going, by the way, is pretty much in date order, if you haven't figured that out. That's pretty much how I sorted everything in the catalog. So this Hudson Valley highlights trip is fantastic. The biggest highlight that I think here is West Point. So you'll visit the Academy, the Visitor Center. You'll do a little riding tour of West Point. You'll have lunch at the Thayer Hotel, which is absolutely this amazingly beautiful hotel with a beautiful dining room. I've eaten there personally. It just rounds out the whole experience. And then, of course, other things that you'll do on this trip, you'll go to the Culinary Institute and you'll have dinner. And the students and faculty will be the ones cooking you dinner. And it's a really special experience. Lots of good shopping, actually, at the Culinary Institute as well. You'll see the FDR National Historic Site. You'll get to have some free time in Rhinebeck, which is a lovely village in New York. You'll visit Olana. And of course, you'll do a Hudson River boat cruise. So this trip has all the highlights of the Hudson Valley, West Point especially. This is your tour at the Culinary Institute. This is the Culinary Institute. This is literally how cool it is to eat there. And just some of the other cool sites that you'll see in the Hudson Valley. All right, we're shifting over to Pennsylvania, and we're talking about the end of July now. The Flight 93 Memorial in Somerset is, I don't know if you've seen it, I've seen it. It is one of the most special and moving memorials and visitor centers that I've ever seen. And we'll do everything that you need to do in this area, and it is important to do. So on our first day, we'll visit the memorial itself, which is sort of a two-part, two-location memorial and a visitor center. Again, extremely moving and very well done. It's brand new. Then we'll go over to the Flight 93 Memorial Chapel, which is a very special place with lots of memorabilia and mementos for the things that happened on 9/11. Obviously, you know, you're remembering such a horrible time in our lives. However, it's very, very moving, and you'll be glad you went and saw this. Then on the second day, we'll visit Q Creek Mine Rescue Site, where, I don't know if you remember this story, coal miners were trapped underground, and thankfully they did survive, and you're going to see exactly where that happened and what happened. Then we'll visit Patriot Park, again, part of the Flight 93 memorial area, and then we'll go to the Fort Ritchie History Museum on our way home. So this is a lovely 2-day getaway, well priced, extremely memorable. Now, let's see if I have any pictures to show. Yeah, this is part of the memorial. Again, another part of the memorial. More memorial. This is the chapel. This is the coal miner site. So I'm going to take a break there. And I would love to hear if anybody has any questions of any of the tours that we've talked about so far. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself. Don't be shy. Or you can raise your hand. I see a hand, Susan. Let's see, you just have to unmute.
I was just wondering if people have received their calendars, or when were they supposed to have been mailed?
The catalogs were mailed, what, Jill, about a month ago? Yeah, about a month ago. So Jill's going to jot down your name, and she can make sure that. Do you know if you're on our mailing list? Have you?
Yes, I should be. Jill, you know me, right? Remember me?
Well, why don't you guys try to touch base tomorrow, or tomorrow morning? And
Will do. I have to have my taxes done anyway tomorrow morning, so
sounds
it's all
fun.
good.
I'm sure you'd rather be talking about travel.
Sure.
And
you're
Bill,
having
Nancy.
them done at the clubhouse? Are you having them done at the clubhouse?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'll be there in the morning and we can hook up.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Good. And Nancy Griebel said she didn't get her catalog either. So we want to make sure that everybody got this catalog. Here's why. I worked really hard on it. And so did Kat and Jill, proofing all of the tours and all the wording and everything like that. And it's great, I think. I mean, of course, you can go to the website and you can see everything on the website, but here it's nice to have it in print.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like one
Ellen.
also, please.
I have a comment if I can, just
Sure.
to let you know, I was at Airbus where the terminal is, where the bus leaves from for all these trips before they come to your pickup point. And they have some brochures there as well. If you don't live at Leisure World or close by Leisure World and you're in the Glenelg Howard County area, they have some there that you could pick one up as well.
Great suggestion. Thank you. Thank you.
Sandy, I've got a great question for the group that was posed in the chat. Is full payment due when you book your trip?
Great question. So if you're booking a day trip, yes, full payment is due when you book a day trip. But if you book a multi-day trip, we'll take a deposit and then 45 days in advance, we'll take the final payment. And that's outlined on our website or in the catalog as well. If it's a cruise or fly trip, it's a little bit different, but again, multi-day trip, we will take a deposit.
And I saw Ivana needs a catalog too, Tucker.
Iantha, yes.
Yeah, I answer. Okay, got it.
Thank you. Thank you. I saw somebody else. Oh, Peter is raising his hand. Let me just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Well, I can press the bar anyway.
Or press the
I don't know how
bar.
to unmute it. My wife and I want to know how handicap friendly these trips are.
Great question. And so handicap is such a wide range of things. It really, it depends on the trip and it depends on your needs. So that's something that you're going to want to talk to Jill about specifically, because she has the tools to be able to give you good answers. If you're wheelchair bound, that's a different that's a different conversation than if you need grab bars in a bathroom. So
my wife has had strokes and she needs a cane to walk. And I mean, she walks slow, but we don't want to end up having to walk 300-400 yards at a time,
Yeah.
football fields at a time.
Understood. So that's a great question. And that's why we have Jill. So you're a perfect candidate for not booking online. I would say, when you're ready to book, you want to talk to Jill, ask her those questions because every tour is different. And we want to match you up with a tour that works for you. We don't want to put you on a tour that is going to be too strenuous.
Yes, my son is going to Havasupai Falls in the middle of the Havasupai Indian Reservation, and it's a 10-mile trip to the pool where he wants to go swimming. And I said, I'd love to join you, but I'm afraid I can't do that walk anymore.
Yeah, not many people can do a 10-mile walk each way. Good question. That's a really good question. Any other questions before we move on?
I didn't get a catalog either.
Okay.
So,
Is that
but
Sabrina?
I do have a couple. I do have a couple other questions. Where do you all depart from? I live in Frederick, Maryland. Our community does some day trips with you guys. But I was curious where you depart from. What's the closest spot from Frederick?
Yeah. Let me see if I have. I can show you our departure locations. So bear with me here. Let's see. Do you guys see the Eyre Tours website? Okay, so I'm going to go over to resources and departure locations. And here's our list of departure locations. Now, not every tour leaves from every location. So this is the general list of our departure locations. But when you find a tour that you're interested in, so for example, let's just pick, Connecticut Yankee Charm, because we just talked about that. We're going to click on View Tour. And we just click here on Pickup Points. And that shows you the pickup points. So every tour is maybe a little bit different, but it's really easy to find the pickup points for each tour. Does that help?
Yes. Another question. One of the reasons we haven't traveled, we're still pretty COVID cautious. What kind of precautions do you all take, if any? And I just was curious about that. We're not ready to fly yet.
Not ready to fly. I understand. Well, first of all, you are more than welcome to wear a mask, and many people do. So we welcome you to do that. The majority of the people, just to give you guys an expectation, the majority of the people are not wearing masks. But we're all, I think we can all say that we're using hand sanitizer, we're wiping down. The drivers and the tour directors try to wipe down when they can. The hotels, for better or worse, they're not doing their daily housekeeping, so you won't have somebody coming into your room during your stay. So there's, at this point, there's not much specifically different that we're doing that we, than if you can think of before the pandemic, other than
Okay,
doing our
thank you.
best to keep everything clean and sanitized when we can.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions before we keep going?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, how early should we book these trips?
That's a really good question.
Like
It's
I'm gonna
almost
go in,
like
I want to go in June on a Yankee Charm, and sometime I travel with a friend, but they don't like to book real early because when you're older, you don't know how you're gonna feel, what's gonna happen in like 3, 4, 5 months, So how do we know, like, if a trip's filling up and if we should really, book it soon?
Well, you should always, if you want to go, you should book it. And I'll tell you what, we offer this wonderful program called Tour Protection, which we can talk about a little bit more at the end. And Tour Protection allows you to cancel your trip for any reason up until 1 hour before the trip departs, and you'll get all the money back that you paid for the trip. You won't get your tour protection
Right.
payment back.
Right.
So this way, the sooner that you book, the seats closer to the front that you will have, and you'll be able to be guaranteed on the trip. Some trips sell out. Some trips may not get enough people and they might have to cancel. Doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. We need about 15, 18 people to make a trip go for sure. So we want you to book if you know you're going to book, because most people do take that tour protection because it gives them that peace of mind, like that you said you're looking for, because none of us know what's going to be,
Right.
in 4 or 5 months. Some people book a year in advance. And this way, you have the peace of mind from the time you book till 1 hour before the trip departs, because you might not even feel well that morning. Maybe you're feeling well 3 days before,
Right.
and you're not sure what you want to do. You don't have to do anything. You've got until 1 hour before the trip departs. So ask Jill about the tour protection. Again, most people do take it, and I do highly recommend it. People are glad that they took it when they need it. For sure. All right, let's jump back in, and I believe I stopped on the Ark Encounter. And this is a great trip. This goes to Cincinnati, Ohio, and Northern Kentucky. It's in August, which is a great time of year because it's nice and sunny out to see all of these wonderful attractions. The Ark is almost like an amusement park. It's humongous. This is the highlight of the trip. So it's 7 stories tall and a football field and a half long, and it has exhibits of all what you would think the Ark would have looked like. Noah's Ark, built to full scale from the Bible. So it's really absolutely very special. We also will visit the Creation Museum. We'll do a sightseeing tour of the area, and then of course we'll have a dinner cruise before going home. So this is a nice, easy 4-day trip with lots to see and do. This appeals to people of all religions because of the Old Testament history that we're talking about here. So highly recommend this trip, and it's new, and it was requested by lots of people, which is partially why it's in our assortment. So I think you'll like it. This is what it actually looks like. It is unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. And some of the exhibits inside.
Sandy,
Yes.
my wife and I drove down there and we saw that Ark Encounter. It's absolutely unbelievable. You can't picture how large it is. I mean, it's just absolutely humongous. I mean, it's got 4
It's well
stories
worth
in
the
there. I
trip.
mean, it's worth the trip. It's a wonderful, wonderful.
I'm glad to hear that. I love it. I love it. When you can see these places, especially when you can tell others about it, because I bet if I asked you who's heard of the Ark Encounter, I bet I wouldn't even get half of you that have heard of it.
Yeah, I've done the Ark Encounter trip, and it is a wonderful experience, and also the Creation Museum. It's
Awesome.
very nice. Yeah.
Great. I love to hear that. Love to hear it. All right, we're going north now. We're going up to the Thousand Islands of New York. I also call this trip like the castles of New York because we're going to see two castle. Am I right? Yes, two castles, Singer Castle and Bolt Castle. And this is absolutely a fantastic trip. There's definitely some stairs here, so you want to think about Singer Castle is a little hard to get around, but it's okay. You don't have to do all of that. We have a very cool dinner. We call it a fisherman's shore dinner that we'll do. We'll see an antique boat museum. Of course, we'll do a wine tasting because when you're in this area, you have to. We'll see a fine art gallery and the Frederick Remington Museum, all really highlights of this area. Again, major highlight here is the Edgewood Resort. This is where we're staying. It is a waterfront resort. It's sprawling. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you need help walking around, they actually have a golf cart that they'll take you around in. The seafood buffet dinner that we will have on our first night is spectacular, absolutely spectacular, and I know you'll love it. Here's some pictures of what you'll see on this trip. Yes, that's what it actually looks like. Some of the insides of the castle. All right, now we're coming a little bit closer to home. We're going to Virginia Beach. Jill got to take this trip last year, lucky duck. The end of August, we go down to Virginia Beach. We're actually staying in a different hotel this year when I think this is a nice upgrade. We'll be at the Holiday Inn Express right in the heart of Virginia Beach. Now, this is a trip where we bring you down and drop you off and you can do whatever you want. You can bring golf clubs, you can bring your beach chair, you can rent beach equipment, whatever you want to do. You can try the restaurants. You will absolutely love the relaxing nature of this trip. So 3 nights and 4 days to do whatever you want in Virginia Beach. And I'm not kidding. This is the view from your room. Sounds pretty good right about now. Then we have the Best of the Pocono Mountains, another sort of close by trip. This is fantastic. The 2 highlights here are the Lehigh Gorge train ride and the Shawnee Playhouse. We'll see a performance at the Shawnee Playhouse, a brand new show called A Good Day. It's a world premiere original musical. We'll go to a great museum called Jerry's Classic Cars and Collections, and you will be taken back to your youth with all of the memorabilia that you'll see. We'll visit the American Candle Factory. We will visit in Bethlehem, the Colonial Industrial Quarter that's on the way home. And we'll stay at the Shawnee Inn, which is a wonderful resort that is perfect for our clients. So I think you'll really like this Pocono Mountains trip. There's the picture of the Lehigh Gorge train, and that's the picture of the Playhouse. So really special trip. Or you can come with us to Vermont and New Hampshire. Yes, there's lots to do on this. The Mount Washington Cog Railway, one of the highlights. Another highlight is this dinner train that will have a 4-course meal on this European style dinner train. We'll visit, do some typical like farm trips. We're in Vermont and New Hampshire. We have to do that. We'll do a boat cruise. And we'll see the Calvin Coolidge Historic Site. So lots to see and do here. We stay at the Castle Hill Resort. The hotel is called the Point Hotel at the Castle Hill Resort. We will have dinner at the castle one night, and we'll have dinner at the Point Hotel another night, and dinner on the train another night. So this has 10 meals, this trip. So highly recommend you doing this trip. And this is the Cog Railway all the way to the top of Mount Washington. So a highlight for sure. And then the dinner train and the boat cruise as well. Again, got to do the Morgan Horse Farm and Billings Farm are the other highlights here. All right, now how about Maine? We're going back north again. We're in October. October 9th, this is a 6-day trip with 8 meals. We'll go to Foxwoods. We haven't been there in a while. We'll see lighthouses, but the real big main attraction here is Acadia National Park. Acadia National Park and Bar Harbor are just the crown jewel of Maine, and spectacular sights that you've never seen before, for sure. So this is a wonderful trip. Lighthouses, you'll have a lobster dinner. And on the way home, we'll visit we'll stop and have a very special dinner called a fireplace feast at the Salem Cross Inn. And I know you'll love that. Again, a very special, lots of very special things that we'll be offering on this trip. Acadia, just absolutely beautiful. And Memphis and Nashville, a Tennessee twosome. I just love, love, love Nashville. So this gives us Nashville and Memphis, 2 great music cities in Tennessee. Of course, we'll visit the Opryland Hotel. We'll even take a boat ride through the delta of the hotel. There's a river through the hotel. We'll see a Grand Ole Opry performance, and we'll do a backstage tour. That's super amazing and very special. We'll do a trolley tour of Nashville. We'll eat on Broadway at Blake Shelton's Old Red restaurant. And then in Memphis, of course, we'll see Graceland. We'll do everything there is to do at Graceland in the Elvis Experience. We'll do a sightseeing tour of Memphis. Of course, we'll visit Beale Street. Our hotel is right along Beale Street. We'll visit the Memphis Rock and Soul Museum and Sun Studio. So this is a fabulous trip, 7 days, 9 meals, perfectly timed for October, not too hot, which we want to be cognizant of in this area. So there's the Parthenon in Nashville and the Nashville skyline, and of course the Grand Ole Opry and Opryland, the Country Music Hall of Fame, Memphis, lots of great things to do in Memphis, and of course Graceland. And that brings us to Halloween weekend, where you can join us for a murder mystery at Villa Roma Resort in the Catskills of New York. This is something that we put on every year, and Villa Roma puts it on, and we send them bus groups of wonderful people to take part in this interactive murder mystery. So it starts when you arrive and ends right before you leave, and we'll have a costume party in between. So for those of you that like to celebrate Halloween, or for those of you that are people watchers, this is a great trip for you. The food at Villa Roma is fantastic. There's lots of it. I kind of think of it as a cruise on land. You sit at the same table every night, and you get to know your waiter and the folks that you're dining with, and the food just doesn't stop. There's one big complaint on this trip, and it's too much food. I would never complain about something like that. So Villa Roma is a lovely resort. Yes, those are 3 actual guests on the left, and part of the show on the right. So they really get into it. And then here we have the vacation of a lifetime. This is a 27-day trip that goes cross country from Maryland to New Jersey, all the way to California and back. Yes, for 2 people in a room, it's over $6,000. But it is absolutely fantastic. This is wrong. It's not 8 days and 12 meals. Whoops, we forgot to proof that page. 27 days and lots of meals. And we'll see everything from Los Angeles to Texas, to the Grand Canyon, to Chicago, to the Petrified Forest, to Mount Rushmore, Arches National Park. So this is a really, really special trip. We have, it is a combination Star Tours trip and Eyre Tours trip. So I think we already have about 35 people on it. So don't be late if you want to think about this trip, because it will sell out and it is extremely special. So we're gonna move on to, I want to talk about 4 holiday vacations, and then we'll open it back up for questions, because we do have multi-day vacations that are perfectly timed for the holidays. We have a Biltmore holiday where we'll do the Biltmore at night. And the Biltmore is in Asheville, North Carolina. They have a candlelight Christmas tour of Biltmore, and that will be the highlight of our trip. And then we also have a wonderful 2-day trip called DuPont Holiday that heads up to the Wilmington area, where we'll visit Hagley and Nemours and Winterthur, 3 DuPont homes/museums that are absolutely decorated to the nines for the holidays. And then of course we'll see Brandywine Museum of Art and have a lovely dinner while we're there. So that's a great 2-day getaway. And then we have the Ogle Bay Resort and the Festival of Lights in Wheeling, West Virginia. And we have Cape May Christmas. So 2 tried and true tours that always sell really well because people keep coming back year after year. So in Cape May, you'll the Physic Estate is all decorated. We'll do a Christmas traditions presentation during dinner. We'll do a holiday lights trolley ride. And that's all in Cape May. That's a 3-day trip. And then of course the other 3-day trip is this Ogle Bay Resort. That is an absolutely fantastic trip with a holiday dinner show and the Festival of Lights being the holidays. So that concludes our multi-day vacations by bus portion of the show. Before we move on to cruises and fly trips, I see Kathy has her hand up. Kathy, do you want to push on that space bar and tell us what your question is?
Yes, I have 2 questions. For the multi-days, is it safe to leave our cars at some of the pickup points?
Great question. So when you leave a car overnight anywhere, you want to think about what you're doing. So you want to make it that there's nothing that somebody would want to break into your car to steal. So we don't guarantee, we can't comment on that. These are public facilities where, anybody can park their cars. So if you have concerns, I would have somebody drop you off and pick you up. That being said, I think in all the time I've been doing this, there has been one issue, and that's it. So,
well, I'm more concerned about the cars being towed than being.
Oh, the
broken
cars don't
into.
get towed. No.
Oh,
Nope.
okay.
No, these are public lots that allow overnight parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second one, what is the average age group for your customers?
That's a good question too. It depends on the tour. I would say average would be somewhere between 60 and 70, but starts as young as 30 and goes up to 95. So,
Okay.
It runs the gamut. A casino trip might be a little bit higher of an age range, whereas, a more active trip might be a little bit lower. But they're adult, they're geared to adults. They're geared to older adults,
Okay.
I would say.
And then one last question on
Sure.
the long trips, how often do they take a break for leg room?
These are such good questions because I'm not sure I would have remembered to say everything. So thank you so much for asking these great questions. We stop I should stop talking and let Ellen answer this one. I'll let Kathy answer one, but here, I'm going to let Ellen answer this one.
Okay. We stop about every 2 to 3 hours. Usually it's about 2, depending on where you board the motor coach, because we figure by that time you want a cup of coffee, use a public restroom, grab a bite to eat, and stretch your legs a little bit. So we don't want you getting there and feeling bad before you even start your vacation.
Good. Thank you, Ellen.
I got a question.
Sure.
You got restrooms on the bus?
We do have restrooms on the bus, but they're really for emergency only. And I'll tell you why in a second. But just to go back to what Ellen says, we do stop every 2 to 3 hours for your comfort. The restrooms on the bus are there, but they are for emergency. And the main reason why is because they're not the safest place for you to be while the bus is moving. So if the bus is not moving, I wouldn't even say that they're for emergency. But while the bus is moving, if the tour directors will tell you, hey, we're going to be stopping in about 15 minutes or 45 minutes or what have you. So if you can plan accordingly, we'll want you to wait. If you need to use the restroom, absolutely. That's what it's there for, 100%. But we don't want you to use it just because it's there. I hope that answers your question. Sabrina, you have a question for me? Let me get you on mute.
Oh, yes, I'm off. Yes. Now I have signed up for the cross country trip, okay, and I'm
Great.
trying to get together someone to go me to the Niagara Falls. I'm going to send you a chat to you when I get done here. But anyway, during the trips, if you're doing something and the person can't walk, if they find out it's more walking than they anticipated, can they not go for that particular walk, or could they just stay back and wait till you come back? I mean, or is there some places where you have to walk from one point to the other because the bus will meet you on the other side, that type of thing? Is that something we need to call to ask about?
That's a great question. I'm going to throw that one to Kathy. I can, if you
Okay.
need
The people can always opt out of any particular tour we're doing. That's not an issue at all. However, we don't allow people to remain on the coach if the driver's not going to be there. So you may find if there's something you don't want to walk to do, actually the walk at Niagara Falls, I can use that as an example. Maybe you don't want to take the walk along the falls, but there's a gift shop there and a restroom and a little really nice covered outdoor area with some benches where you could wait if you didn't want to do the walk. So it would depend on the tour where you might be able to wait, but we would never, ever force anyone to go walking or on a tour somewhere that they didn't want to or felt they couldn't make it. And we would find a place for you to wait for us if that became the case.
Well, no, I mean, I guess the question the person can ask me was, well, if I got to a point where I felt like I couldn't take that particular tour, she would need to know, well, if I don't take that tour, how am I going to get back to the bus if the bus is, say, going to meet us on the other side or something? And I told her I don't know. I was going to ask that question.
That we'd have to handle on a case-by-case basis because it doesn't usually happen that way, because we are, trying to make it for the convenience of our people in the group, the passengers that we have. So particularly if it was a long walk, we wouldn't have a situation where you had to go on the walk to get to the other place. You'd probably remain with the driver and go with him or her to the pickup area.
Okay. Okay, and I just thought I would ask, I mean.
No, it's a good question.
And I told her I would ask the question. Thank you.
Great. Randy's raising her hand.
Hi, I have two questions. One is about seating on the bus itself, or is seating assigned, or perhaps not assigned, but once you have a seat, particularly for these multi-day trips, can you be assured that you'll have that same seat throughout the duration of the trip?
I'm going to let Jill answer that one because I know she can.
Okay. Should I add and wait for the response and then I'll ask my second question?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's answer the first one first. Yeah.
Okay. So your seat is assigned. We don't rotate seats. So, we ask if you prefer a window or an aisle when you sign up for the trip. If you sign up online, you don't get to pick a trip, but there is an area that you can fill out online saying, I like a window, I like to be mid-forward, whatever. But that is your seat for the duration of the trip.
Thank you. The second question is this, and I have traveled with you before, but it's been a number of years. I am interested in the cross-country trip. Sounds fantastic. But as I said, I have traveled with Eyre before. I'm not familiar with Star. And I heard you say, Sandy, that this is like a
Right.
something that's sponsored by both of these your company and theirs,
Yeah.
or is it just the Star?
This is great. I love, these are great questions. You guys are great. So I realize there's probably some people that have heard me speak before and probably some new people on before. So I'm going to give you a quick 10,000 feet overview. So Star Tours, my company, has been around since 1947, 75 years last year, and I am the third generation owner. And I run the tour division of Star Tours. During the pandemic, Eyre Tours, a company, a third generation family owned business that we've known, not me personally, my dad knows Ron, the owner of Eyre, for 50 years, and I've known his two sons for 25 years. They were Ellen ran their tour business, the same Ellen that's right on this call right here. And when COVID happened, Ellen said, "Bye-bye, I'm retiring." And the brothers were not going to reopen the tour division because they didn't have the expertise of Ellen, who had earned her retirement. And we had heard about it, and we said to Ron and Brad and Matt, we said, how about we run your tour business? We already run a tour business in Philadelphia, Central New Jersey, and we've been doing it for a long time. How about if we step in and we'll build your tours just like you're used to doing, just like we're used to doing, and we'll put your tours out on Eyre buses. And they said, great idea. Fast forward 2 years, that's where we are right now. So the tours, so the reason you see in right above me, Eyre Tour and Travel, we are powered by Star. So Eyre Tours is powered by Star now. So Ellen, we are so thankful, is still here and lending us our knowledge. She acts as a tour director for us. And Jill Wood, who used to work directly for the Eyre family, is now working for the new Eyre Tours powered by Star. So there are a few tours that you will see in the catalog. One that I didn't put on this presentation because it's already on the road. It's Orlando, and the other is cross country. And those are Star tours that we invite. Well, an Eyre traveler is invited on any Star trip. Let me just say that flat out. But there are some tours particularly that we will that we're bringing you from Maryland onto the trip. So for Orlando, we start the trip up here in New Jersey, then Philadelphia, and then we stop in Maryland and pick you all up and go down to Orlando. For the cross-country trip, it's a little bit different. You're going to come from Maryland and meet us in Pennsylvania because it's a westbound trip, and that's sort of our routing. So we'll bring you in the night before, and then you'll get on the Star bus with the Star tour director that next morning, and it'll be a Star trip, but it'll feel just like an Eyre trip because they're virtually the same, just different bus company. So I hope that helps you to understand. It's this, it's the same. I run the Eyre Tours business, just like I run the Star Tours business. Kat, who you see here, she works for Star Tours and she works for Eyre Tours. It's just another way that we can offer our wonderful trips to folks that live in Maryland, just like we do to folks that live in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Delaware. So I hope that explains it. So the cross-country trip is a Star Tours trip that we open up for the Eyre folks, and we'll bring you from Maryland to get on that trip.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I know the quality of Eyre, and I know that Star is just as good, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I think so. I think we're both two great companies. if I do say so myself. Antoinette, you have a question? All right.
Yes, I do. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Come off me. I live here in Prince George's County and I'm near BW 95. Where would be the closest for me? Would it be Ellicott City? Is that near Anne Arundel, go in that direction off 100 or something, 175?
Ellen?
Yes, Longgate is your best option. As a matter of fact, the park and ride is right off of 100. So if you get to 100, it's the last exit before you get to Route 929. So it's not far from you at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to do a little time check. It's 8 p.m. I'm still good to go. So we're not going to be done anytime soon. Maybe I'm shooting for like 8:30. But if you guys are good, we're going to still keep going. So, Carolyn, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Memphis and Nashville. Would you have any free time if you wanted to go to like the African American Museum of Music? Would you have time to do that on your own if you wanted to?
The new museum in Nashville?
Yes.
That's a great question.
Sandy had responded to her on the chat because having been there, it's not on our itinerary, but you were asking about free time anyway.
Right.
And I'm going to check into that. I need to look at the schedule for this year and see. It's probably not going to be possible because the area that museum is in, we don't have free time then. We're doing a stop, a photo stop, and then we move on to something else. There's not a ton of free time on that particular trip because there's so many things to see and do in both of those towns. But I'm going to check into it and see, looking at the itinerary, and then I'll let you know. I wrote down your name so I know who asked the question.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Kathy. I think it's tight on timing there. We have a lot. There's so much to do in Nashville. But maybe we can add that in the future to the itinerary. So that's a really good suggestion. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions before we move on to cruises? Great. Guys are a great audience. All right, let's go here. All right. We're offering 3 cruises this year. And again, I'm going to give you a little 10,000 foot view. What do you mean? How you're a bus company? How do you offer a cruise? Well, what we do is we book group space on one sailing, and we book, as you book, we book you into that group space, and then hopefully we have 15 or more, and we'll send a tour director with you. We'll pick you up in the bus and bring you up to the pier. And that's how it works. So you end up becoming a group on the sailing. So we're going to Bermuda and we'll sail out of Baltimore, which means we'll pick you up at one of the locations, bring you to the Baltimore pier where you'll have a tour director with you. And then you'll sail for 7 days. All your meals are included. And that's how it works. In this case, we're sailing on the Carnival Legend. In addition to the package, so you'll pay $9.99 per person plus taxes and fees, but you will get $100 per cabin onboard credit. So Bermuda cruise we have here that sails on the Carnival Legend, and then we also have a Canada New England cruise that sails on the Norwegian Escape. And that one goes to Portland, Maine and Bar Harbor, Maine, as well as St. John, New Brunswick, Halifax, Nova Scotia, 2 days at sea, and it offers a $200 per cabin onboard credit. And this one sails from New York City. So we'll bring you to New York City, the pier here as well. So that's how cruises work. And then we also have an option for you to go to the Bahamas. You'll go to Princess Cays, Nassau, and Freeport. You'll sail from Baltimore. You'll have 3 days at sea, and then the price includes a $100 per cabin onboard credit. So that's another option from Carnival Cruise Lines. We do have a company that we partner with that offers travel protection, kind of like an insurance for cruise and fly vacations. So we have that information here for you. So that's cruising. And before I come back to you, we'll talk about a few fly vacations that we have. We have, again, from a higher view, we partner with other tour companies that offer these fly-in tours. So your price includes the bus to the airport. It includes your airfare, and it includes the tour as well. So it's like a bus tour, but you just put a flight in the middle of it. And the flight at the beginning, a flight at the end. So for example, you can come with us to the Canyon Country Experience, which is a tour put on by Western Leisure Tours that we know, company that we know very well, based in the West. And that has a lot of highlights, including the Grand Canyon. So if you're interested maybe in not driving that far on a bus to that area, you may want to come visit with us to Canyon Country. And then we also will take a group to the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, which happens every October. And Mayflower puts on that tour, a company that we've been using for probably over 40 years, a great company as well. So those are two options. And then we also have a wonderful option in September to the California coast and Yosemite National Park. And that has lots of highlights. Hearst Castle is one of them, in addition, obviously, to Yosemite. And every year we go to the Tournament of Roses. And we stay in Los Angeles, and we go to the actual parade, and we'll do the float building before the parade, and it's just and we have a New Year's Eve party. It's a wonderful, fun tour. So those are, let's see, stop share. Was I sharing my screen for that by any chance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yes.
There we go. So those are the cruise and fly trips that we offer. Does anybody have any questions about cruise or fly trips that I haven't answered yet, or anything specific?
Yes, the cruise, if you live close to the port, let me ask it this way. The price includes transportation to the port. If you don't need transportation to the port, does that get deducted?
It does not.
Okay.
It's not. It's a
Thank
package
you.
price. No problem. I saw a question, Kat. Remind me to come back to the solo traveler program, because we did start something. So we'll come back to that question, Nancy, soon. Any other questions about cruise or fly?
Yes, I've got a question. I don't fly anymore. It's just a claustrophobic thing. I do ride the train. If I would catch the train to one of those places, would the cost be less since I'm not flying? How would you do that?
I don't think we can offer that. It's really, it's a package that it's all put together. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I understand. Sorry.
All right. Then we're going to shift over to fun stuff. Now we'll talk about day trips. All right. We do offer lots of different day trips throughout the year. This is a little bit small, so I apologize. When you have your catalog in hand, you can follow along. We have lots of different day trips. Sometimes we have more than one date going. Sometimes we just have one, depending. We have a boat cruise in Assateague Island with lunch and free time in the ocean at the Ocean City Boardwalk. So that's a great trip. Our sold out cherry blossom, or is it sold out, Jill, or close to sold out? Cherry Blossom Boat Cruise?
It is sold out, and so is the Philadelphia Flower Show. We have about 20 people on each of a wait list on each of those.
All right. So for those of you that ask, when should I book? Here's the answer. There's a couple sold out trips there. We have a wonderful trip to Chesapeake City, Maryland. That's brand new. We tried that. A lot of times this is good. We can try it out with Star Tours. And then when it works really well, then we bring it over to Eyre Tours and vice versa. So that's a fun thing to do. We have a trip to the Green Dragon Farmers Market, which is a great Friday outing. We have a trip, murder mystery dinner theater trip to Mount Hope in Manheim, which is outside of in Lancaster County. So that's a super fun day trip. And then a day trip to the Museum of Broadway, which I just went to on Tuesday for the first time. And I had a fabulous trip. I thought the Museum of Broadway was absolutely terrific and brought back lots of memories of the different shows that I've seen. Dutch Apple Dinner Theater, we've got 3 great shows, Sister Act, Elvis, and Guys and Dolls. So we would love for you to join us on any of those trips. We have a National Harbor Express where you can choose your drop off, either Tanger Outlets or MGM Casino or right at National Harbor. And we've got 3 different date options for you to do that. We've got a New York City Express that takes you right into the theater district. Ocean City, Maryland takes you right to the boardwalk area. A new trip, Philadelphia Bingo Cruise. Who doesn't want to go on a cruise and play bingo? I do, that's for sure, with a wonderful lunch. So that will be a fun trip in Philadelphia. And then we'll do a little sightseeing tour of Philadelphia before we leave. The Flower Show, which Jill reminded me is sold out with a wait list. Rehoboth Beach will take you to the beach for the day in the summer, which is a great day trip. We have a fall trip to Shenandoah National Park Skyline Drive, which is really popular every year. We'll go to Sunfest, which is a wonderful festival in October in Ocean City. And then we've got 3 options for you to go to Washington, D.C. And I just thought I would show you what it looks like, but we've got 4 different drop-offs for you in Washington, D.C. So if you want to just go to the day and pick what you want to do, this is a great option. We call this a Washington, D.C. Museum Loop, and you can see all of the different places that you can just hop off our bus and get to where you're going. So I think this picture is on the website if you click on the tour. So I just wanted to show you that close up because we really want to bring you to DC so you can do what you want to do. Of course, we have Sight and Sound Theater. We have the show Moses this year, which is an excellent show. We have 3 different options for you to see that, and I know you'll absolutely love it. And then Broadway. So Broadway is absolutely back. There's fantastic, wonderful shows. The Neil Diamond Show, I know you will all love, trust me. That is a fantastic show. Some Like It Hot is just gets absolutely rave reviews. MJ is a super fun show. And then we've got Parade, which just opened. And then Back to the Future in New York, which have not opened yet. But if you want to see a play or a musical that is not listed on there, you just give Jill a call or send her an email, and we can price any show for you on any of the days that we're already going. So for example, on April 26th or August 2nd or May 3rd, let's say you want to see a different show, you just give us a call and we can get a price for you for any ticket on any day. All right. Then in addition, we offer holiday day trips. So the American Music Theater in Lancaster, PA. This was a photo actually from the American Music Theater. Dutch Apple Dinner Theater has a great Christmas show every year. Longwood Gardens. Need I say more? Riverside Center Dinner Theater puts on Miracle of 34th Street this year. Of course, Radio City Christmas Spectacular in New York City. We can take you right to Rockefeller Center if you'd like, so you can pick what you want to do. Sight and Sound will have a Miracle of Christmas, which they only have every other year. So if you love that show, or if you've always wanted to see it, now's the time this year in 2023. We'll bring you to St. Michael's for the Christmas Festival, and then a brand new tour to the National Christmas Center at Stone Gables Estate. And those are wonderful tour options for all of you as well. So lots of day trip options there. Any questions about our day trips? You guys are good. You guys are good. While I have you, let me go back. Let me go back to sharing my screen here, and I'm gonna pop over to, I just need to move this. I gotta move this out of the way. Not that one, not that one, that one. We have a Facebook group called Eyre's Solo Travelers. So if you're on Facebook, you can search, just type in Eyre's Solo Travelers. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build a community of solo travelers. And once we build up this community, which already has, I want to say like 40 some people, 51 members, this is purely for people that travel by themselves and may want to find other people that travel by themselves. Whether you are looking for a roommate, or if you just want to know, hey, are there any solo travelers going on the trip to Maine? Because there's solo travel. Jill, am I right? There are solo travelers on every trip.
Yes.
And so, yeah, okay. So solo travelers are people that travel alone. But what I never, when you travel with Eyre Tours or when you travel with Star Tours, you're never alone. I mean, you might have booked the trip by yourself and maybe you're in your room alone, but you are with a community of other travelers, people with like interests, people that might be different than you. But when you sit down to dinner, you'll have people to talk to and you'll meet new friends. And you may strike up a conversation and learn something. And this all adds to the experience of the trip. Sometimes the most memorable parts of a trip are the people you made, in addition to the things that you saw. Maybe a story that you remember. And that's why we have tour directors on board. That's why we have step-on tour guides, people that step onto the bus that give you the flavor of the area that you're traveling to, because we just don't want you to look out the window and see things. We want you to experience it. And we know that experiencing it with other people will help make it be more memorable. So if you do travel by yourself, this might be a good Facebook group for you to join. And we will put trips that are geared to solo travelers on display here. And you can ask questions or find other people to travel with. Again, even though you're not traveling alone when you're with Eyre Tours, but it might be nice for you to find somebody to sit next to or possibly to share a room with. So I hope that answers your question about solo travelers, Nancy. We are just getting this up and running. So this is something that we have been doing at Star for many years. We have hundreds of people in the solo traveler groups. We have specific tours geared to solo travelers. And I hope to bring that to Eyre Tours as well. So, and while you're paying wonderful amounts of attention, I'm going to promote, here we go, our Eyre Tours Facebook page. If you're not already following our Eyre Tours page, just go onto Facebook and type in Eyre Tours and like our page. And then you'll be able to see all the information that we're posting. We'll post pictures from tours. We'll post any new information and things like that. So we like to share information on our Facebook page as well. Any questions?
Can I add something?
Yes.
Not only is the Facebook page the best place to stay connected with us, but you can also see albums of previous trips that we've taken, trips that have just come back. So it's almost like a virtual photo album. So whether you're on the trip or you're thinking about the trip, about going on the trip next year, or if you are like, oh, hey, I'm thinking about that Vermont trip. What did it look like the last time Eyre went to Vermont? You can see everything there. And y'all look great on those photo albums. Everyone looks like a rock star and everyone's having so much fun. So not only just to stay in the know with us, but you can also find yourselves and your friends in pictures.
She's right. And the tour directors work really hard to take those pictures. And Ellen is quite the photo taker, the photographer these days. So make it worthwhile for Ellen to have been taking all those pictures. Ellen can even take selfies now, right?
Let's not go crazy. Not go crazy. But for the person who was asking about traveling alone, you might get on the motor coach alone, but when you get off, you're going to get off with 30 friends. I guarantee it. You'll love it.
Yeah, she's right. She's right. I want to talk about tour protection, which I mentioned briefly. Highly recommend this tour protection. Kind of think of it as like an insurance program. You can, once you buy your tour protection, and you only have to, for multi-day trips, you don't need to buy the tour protection until you make your final payment, right? So you'll put your deposit down. Your deposit might be, let's say, $150. And maybe you're making that deposit 3-4 months in advance. And then the tour protection, when you make your final payment, that's when you pay for the tour protection. And that's when you need it, right? That's because if you cancel the trip after that point, that's where you're going to have your big fees if you don't have the tour protection. For day trips, you would pay for the tour protection at the time you make your payment, because tour protection is required when you pay in full, just like for the day trips. So highly recommend the tour protection program. I just wanted to, of course, take a moment. This is the Eyre Tours fleet. We use Eyre buses. A wonderful company, as you all know, 3rd generation family-owned business. These are beautiful Prevost motor coaches that have all the amenities that you can think of that any 21st century bus has these days. So they're beautiful buses and very well taken care of. And even more important than the buses are the drivers. And the drivers are extremely friendly, very knowledgeable, customer service oriented, and very, very safe as well. We talked a little bit about our pickup locations. This is kind of what it looks like here. But again, the locations will differ depending on each trip. And how to book. You can book online at airtours.com. You could call Jill, and there's her phone number, or you can go visit her at Leisure World in her office in Clubhouse 1.
Yeah.
The website is very user-friendly. It's open 24/7. So when you're dreaming of a trip at 2 in.the morning and you have to book it, you can, because that's what the good old internet is for. We talked about Facebook. So we definitely want you to join us on Facebook and Instagram as well. If some of you are on Instagram. And I don't want to jump ahead there. It's not time to do my giveaway yet. But we also, we want to be around for the next 75 years, just so that you all know. And the way we can do that is if you guys help spread the word about Eyre Tours. So please tell your friends, bring a friend on a trip and expose them to Eyre Tours. Or if you live in a community or you belong to a church or some kind of volunteer group, share the word about Eyre Tours. Jill's got lots of extra catalogs in her office, or we can mail you catalogs. The more people that travel with us, the more trips we can offer. And we know you like choices. So please spread the word. We're not shy. We're asking you to spread the word. Let's see, I'll go to questions. Nancy's asking, will I ever allow the travelers to see the seating chart with open seats online? No. I'm not gonna lie. For those of you that know me, I don't beat around the bush. I don't think that's a good business practice, so we're not going to do that. But Jill can, if you call Jill, she can share some information about how the seats are, taken. We just don't, that's not something we want to put online. Because we do have
Sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a quick question. I'm a solo traveler, so I went onto your Facebook and I was answering the questions and it said, have you traveled with Eyre before? If not, you must already be in our client database to be accepted. How do I don't think I've traveled. I was at your kickoff last year and then today, but how do I get?
That's a great question. Just say no, but I plan to.
Okay.
Or no, but I hope to.
Okay.
Kat and I, and another gal or two in the office, we read them all. So, it's not a robot, it's us. So we kind of know what to look for.
All right. Thank you.
Good question. Nix, do you have a question? All right, when you're ready to unmute or press your space bar, we're ready.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I'm new to this Zoom thing. Can you tell me, I am not on Facebook. I do not use Facebook. So I understand that Facebook is a good business tool, but how would someone like me get some information about the solo travelers?
So that's a great question. And that's why we have Jill. So if you want to find out, you know, if there's other solo travelers going on trips, I mean, we can't connect you to anybody because, you know, your information is not anything that we would share with anybody.
Right.
So you can kind of ask Jill, hey, is this a good trip to go on as a solo traveler? Will I find other solo travelers on this trip? Do you have a different one that you recommend? Things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. Any other questions? You guys are great. All right, it's time to pick winners. It's time to pick winners. Here we go. All right, let me go to my little I have a little system here. Now, Jill's going to write down these two winning names, and then she will email you a gift certificate. If you, for some reason, if you get picked and you're not in our database, you'll probably know that, so you can give Jill a call. So the first winner is Jay Tucker. Let's see. I see you. I don't know your first name other than Jay, but congratulations. You just won $25 to spend on an Eyre tourist trip. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any tour that you might be interested in?
Yes, I was thinking about, which one was it?
Almost any of these trips are nice, Joe.
Yeah, there's a couple that we marked.
Good. What's your first name?
Joanne.
Joanne. Great. Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank
you. You're welcome. And the second winner, also a J, is Jackie Lynch. Jackie, let's see where, oh, there she is. She's waving. Great. You want to unmute yourself and tell us what you might be interested in?
Yes, we're going to Myrtle Beach and one other. Oh, to the Cincinnati trip.
Oh, the Ark Encounter. Great.
Yes, yes. And there may be one more. We've got our year planned out.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. You're welcome. Congratulations. I'm glad you're a winner. And you're all winners for being here tonight, really.
You don't want to ask the question to her, Joe?
You can ask me a question.
Oh, okay. I have a question. Would you ever consider picking up at a metro station?
We do pick up at one metro station already, but they don't like us to, I don't think they like cars to park overnight there. So
Right.
We like to pick locations that have overnight parking for obvious reasons. So it depends, but let Jill know what your suggestion is. And we'll put it, I keep a list of possible departure locations, so I'm certainly willing to add it to the list.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Or anybody, we did pick up at the Falls Church or Springfield metro station for a trip going south. If it's going north, it's not possible, but going south, we go right past there. So we have picked up there and it's worked well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the West Falls Church Metro Station. And we use the Kiss and Ride lot for the park, for the pickup, but people get dropped off because they can't park their cars there overnight. So in the main lots at the metro stations, you can park your car overnight at your own risk because they don't like them parked overnight. But I have parked there at metro stations myself and never had an issue with my car. But I certainly couldn't guarantee that for anybody else. You know, it's just, they don't like you to be there, but they so far don't seem to be doing any policing of that.
Good to know. Good to know.
And let me say about that too, because you do pay to go into the metro parking lots. So when I would go into a metro parking lot and like I leave from Silver Spring and I go down to DCA to take a flight out of National, I wondered, I didn't know because I didn't want to ask any questions since they don't like you parking overnight. I wondered if when I left, if I would have to pay for every day or if it's just registering one day, and it only registers one day of parking. So it's not like however many days you leave it that when you leave, you're then paying that metro parking fee for every day. Unless that's been changed, because I haven't parked in a metro parking lot now for probably 4 or 5 years.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for that insight. All right. You guys have been an absolutely fantastic crowd. You've offered great insight. You had great questions. You seem really interested, and that makes us so happy because we really work hard to put these trips together for you, and we know you'll love them, but your interest makes us energized to continue to build more of these tours for you. So Kat and I will get to work tomorrow and make sure we keep these tours coming, and Jill will be ready to talk to you and book these trips. And certainly Terry and Kathy and Ellen will be super excited to meet you in person when you get on the bus. So I thank all of you for coming. We'll do this again, I promise, because it just it helps us as well as I think it helps you. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Happy almost spring, and we'll see you on a trip this year. Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you to my tour directors. Happy.
No, goodbye. We'll see anybody on the flower show. I'll see you next Thursday.
Yeah, I'll drop it off to you.
Awesome. I love it. It takes a village. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good